Hello, and welcome to another episode of What's on the Pile. This is basically just us talking about movies we like. So this week we watched. With me is Shane and Jenner. I'm just. I don't even have a script. I'm rushing it, and I'm kind of over the format. So anyway, we watched for the continuation of our Heisei Godzilla feast. We come back with Godzilla versus King Ghidorah and Godzilla and Mothra: The Battle for the Planet. I've seen both of these movies a billion times. Jenner's seen them a couple, but Shane has not. And really, he's, I guess, who we're most excited to hear from
Well, I mean,
because,
I'll be honest. It's been a while now. I saw,
yeah,
and also, so Mothra, I watched because I thought we were recording that Tuesday. I didn't have time over the weekend. I ended up watching a lot of it at work during lunch on my phone,
hmm
and then that was fun. Like on the Criterion channel, and then taking notes on my computer and then emailing them to myself. So, but turns out I didn't take that many notes on Mothra. I got my notes on Ghidorah, but there's a lot I don't remember.
Ghidorah, I find to be especially fun because it has a lot of wacky elements that made it in there that are kind of insane. And some
There's a
of the,
ton of stuff in that movie.
yeah,
I
uh,
like
th- hmm?
like there. So this was made the same year as Terminator 2, apparently, right?
Yes,
Yes, it
And
was.
the M1, M11, whatever, goes through both the Terminator 1 and Terminator 2 arcs within
yes.
by the time the movie is over. So that was interesting.
And is essentially the Terminator. It may as well be. Um, with that poor actor. And so just, I will never forget him. I'll never forget him running by with the bushes in the front, and he's going, and he kind of looks over and then turns back. He looks over at the camera practically and then turns back, and it's just such a ridiculous moment that I love. I love this movie, Godzilla vs. King Ghidorah. Not my favorite of the Heisei, but I really, really enjoy it. Um, I think it was interesting that they tried to go a different direction with King Ghidorah. King Ghidorah always being Monster X or Monster Zero, and it always comes from space. Uh, in classic Godzilla,
You know,
yeah.
so who crowns him king? Why is he king? Like as soon as he shows up, they're like, "Oh, it's King Ghidorah." Like, is there like lore around why he's the king and why they call him that?
It has to do with Japanese mythology because he's supposed to be the three-headed golden dragon of Japanese mythology, and it has something to do with that. I don't know what, but in this movie, uh, it has nothing to do with anything because King Ghidorah only makes sense if it is that creature, and it's never that creature. So he's just, he's the king. He's a threat. He's of if Godzilla is the king of the monsters in the neutral, and Mothra is the queen of the monsters in the good, then King Ghidorah is the king of the monsters in the bad.
Yeah,
That's the way I'd go with
yeah.
it.
I mean, as we've gone over a few times, who names the monsters anyway? Some little kid with a lollipop who, then gets slapped by one of the world leaders from the G7 from the G8 conference, and then they proceed to end up continuing to call the monster that thing anyway.
Yeah, yeah.
So is this like this movie? Is this like the true Godzilla origin story that there's just for some reason there were dinosaurs around and that he was a dinosaur and that he protected the Japanese from the evil Americans and then
Yeah,
the H bomb test turned him into Godzilla?
yeah, that's the origin story. That's as set
I didn't know he was a
by
dinosaur.
by this movie. Well, he's a
Yes,
Godzillasaurus.
But
yes.
he started as a T Rex, right? Is this
No,
kind of what they said here?
It's
no,
sort
he's
of like an
like a T.
Allosaurus.
He's called a Godzillasaurus. I'm not joking.
Yes,
That's the
Okay.
name of it. It's a Godzillasaurus, which is
which
great.
of
I mean,
course
what else would it be?
which of course reappeared in Godzilla -1. So I like that they kind of held to that point of continuity.
Which I think lends to my theory again that Godzilla -1 is the origin story of the Heisei Godzilla.
No, I'll buy that absolutely.
And
And
But in the meantime, of course, one of the fun things about King Ghidorah, after the slightly turning of the wheels quality of the two movies prior to this, The Return of Godzilla and Godzilla versus Biollante, they straight up re-origined Godzilla to get themselves a bigger, better, much more feeling of the now Godzilla for the 1990s.
yeah, it definitely makes a lot more references and that kind of thing. It jumps genres several dozen times. Uh,
There's a lot of stuff in this movie.
yeah, I
yeah.
was gonna ask, is this like common for Godzilla movies to have different genres? Like there's like time travel, there's like all this future stuff.
Sometimes in the Showa era, this leans more towards Showa and some of those ideas. But the director also just kind of wanted to cram some of this stuff in because he liked it. The
Just
writer.
a fan of Terminator stuff.
Yeah,
Put a
basically.
Terminator in here.
There's a lot of Godzilla movies that have, cramming in of other genre, stuff. I mean, we see it a little bit in Godzilla versus Mothra with a very distinctly Indiana Jones-ish vibe for one of our protagonists.
Yeah.
And of course, think to the Millennium series with all of the strange Sentai stuff from Godzilla Final Wars. Um, they keep trying to throw in, I mean, good lord, the body horror of the Shin series, for pity's sake.
That's more Hideaki Anno though than
Yeah, I mean, that's Hideaki Anno, but at the same time, there is a history of sort of genre bending in the Godzilla
Oh
movies.
yeah,
Just
absolutely. I always like to think of it as I always think of Godzilla in the green room waiting for his next movie. And they're like, oh my God, they want me to grow 20 meters for this one. They want me to have purple spines now. It's fine. I'm going to do it because I'm Godzilla and I show up. I like that idea that Godzilla is an actor who just comes back every single time and just changes himself a little bit. Godzilla
few movies, few
has
movies from now, the worst heartburn you've ever had. Spoilers. Anyway, you were saying.
yeah. Um, no, I don't remember. No, it wasn't that important.
Godzilla in the green room. It's
Uh,
just a working actor.
no, I had something. I had something else I was leading toward. I've forgotten what it was. It doesn't matter. Let's move on.
Okay.
No, I Godzilla versus Ghidorah and Godzilla and Mothra aren't my favorites of the series of the Heisei series, um, but they're very good. There is one movie in particular that many Godzilla fans consider the worst of the series, and that's Godzilla versus Space Godzilla. We'll get to that one. Um, and with these two, fans are somewhat split on King Ghidorah. Like Mecha King Ghidorah, cool as hell. It's great that they did. I think it's fantastic. I kind of like what happened with the future people. The English acting in this is as spot on as ever.
It's just
Just
the best.
I mean, I was able to understand them this time. Like
that's true. That's true.
it was a lot. I mean, I watched this very late at night. I remember getting like whiplash. Like, oh, we need to get rid of Godzilla, so now Ghidorah's here. Oh, so let's bring back Godzilla. Oh, now it's just Godzilla. Okay, bring Ghidorah back now because now we just fucked ourselves again. And, I was like, and at the end, I was like, who am I supposed to root for? I guess God. Like we always root for Godzilla, or are we supposed to root for Ghidorah because Emmy is involved with Ghidorah? I was like, it doesn't matter because Godzilla is just gonna survive even if he loses, right?
Emmy doesn't come back. Yeah, Godzilla can not die. Godzilla is essentially immortal.
Yeah. Spoilers. But oh, anyway.
I said essentially,
Yeah, leaving that aside.
not
Yeah,
is.
I love the sort of very 20th century fast and loose idea about time travel in this. It was really a few years later where they started to lean into the idea that any time travel was a terrible, terrible, terrible freaking idea. Of course, this was only 5 years after Star Trek 4, where it was how do we didn't know he didn't invent the thing,
Yeah.
which is that sort of wonderfully it's the hand wavy versus the unbelievably dire butterfly effects all the damn time views of time travel, which to some extent I think are still at war to this day, but you definitely get a lot more of the latter, the everything is a bad idea than the former. um, but the sort of fast and looseness of this, and what was the deal with the Dorats? Oh, that was the deal with the Dorats. That's cute. Um,
That was
the
weird. And those
yeah.
little girls. I'm trying to remember. But there were these little women, right? Like
Oh,
tiny
that
women.
no,
that
that's
was in
Mothra.
Mothra. Those are
Mothra.
the
Okay, never mind.
those
Okay,
We'll
are the
get
that's
to
fine.
that. We'll get to that. In Ghidorah, it's these three, like, they look like My Pet Monster with a different color scheme, with like green and gold, and they're the three creatures that mutate together to form King Ghidorah in this movie.
Okay.
Uh,
Yeah. Wow.
in there are two versions of the Dorats, uh, where they came from. One of them is that the is just that the Dorat were bio uh, created created
Iowa.
by, yeah, bioengineered by the future people to do what it did. But in one of the novelizations that came from one of the original scripts, the Dorat, the reason they're able to bioengineer those particular creatures is because they find uh, like a little bit of bone and whatnot on Mars. Stuff like that. It's just enough material to build something off of it, and that's what came out of it, and that's Monster Zero from space,
Nice.
which ties it back into space.
Yeah.
um, yeah. So these episodes are just meant for me to just talk about Godzilla, aren't they? It's just me
So,
talking about Godzilla.
it, I mean, you're the most absolute authority on the subject of whom I'm personally aware. Um, I mean, there may be people who have written books on the subject who may exceed you slightly in erudition,
Oh,
but
there are names and historical things that I don't remember at all.
there's unlikely to be anybody who exceeds you in passion. So that's kind of worth kind of indulging in its own right, I think. No, it had been a very, very long time since I had seen these, as fondly as I remembered them. Um, and yeah, truthfully, given that the last time that I had seen them was probably not this century, I still remembered them fairly vividly. Some of the effects work was a little less elegant than I remembered it being, which is kind of understandable given that they just don't make movies like this anymore. I
it
mean,
it looked exactly like how I remembered it. Every time it looks exactly like how I remembered it.
well, I remember being incredibly impressed by the little feints that they did do at digital effects work
Mhm.
at the time, just because that was really not something you particularly saw in Japanese movies in general, but in Kaiju specifically around that time. Although that lent itself to some really interesting sort of quantum leaps in development in the latter part of the decade and the parallel development of the Gamera movies,
Mhm.
uh, which are really worthy of a longer discussion again one of these days as well. But leaving that aside,
Also led
uh,
to GMK, Giant Monsters All Out Attack, which is one of the best Millennium series Godzilla movies. It is.
and that's one I still need to see.
Oh, you haven't seen that one.
Yeah.
It's mean and violent, and
Mhm.
Godzilla has no pupils. He's just like white-eyed fury,
Mhm.
and he kills a bunch of kids in a school, and they show it, and they're like, "Look, Godzilla just killed all them kids," and then
Was that the one that the one that was based on the original Godzilla versus Ghost Godzilla screenplay that they had originally fobbed around for Godzilla versus Destroya?
I don't think so. This was from the guy who did the new Gamera movies.
Yeah,
The
yeah.
90s Gamera movies.
Which are so freaking good.
Yeah, so they
If
gave
there's
him
anyone who
Godzilla,
actually
and he
if
did
there's anyone who
great.
actually watches this program, who hasn't actually seen the '90s camera movies, they are unbelievably good.
Shane, do you have
It-
any more questions? Anything you can think of?
No, I'm trying to. I'm not, honestly struggling to remember Mothra, even though I did like it. I just didn't watch it in a very good environment since I was trying to like rush through it while sitting at my work desk. Um, I do remember thinking like the whole Mothra Batra lore, is that something that we're just supposed to understand? Like everyone gets it and knows it like it's nothing, and I'm just like I don't really know what's going on.
The
Um,
twins and Mothra herself. Um, a lot of that is referencing the original twins and Mothra. It's originally they're either sometimes they're fairies, sometimes they're just little twins, sometimes they're the embodiment of Mothra's conscience, and they're always there in every movie except for the legendary movies, and
no, they're there in the legendary movie, just not in the same form.
and Mothra is there just to be like, stop fucking ruining the planet, or I'm gonna kill you. Or wait, no, she's not trying to kill people.
they
No, she is trying to kill everybody, isn't she?
No, Mothra's the protector,
Yeah,
the true
Mothra
protector.
doesn't want anybody to die. The only reason
Okay.
Mothra was destroying the city was because it was making a beeline to its twins because they did the Mothra song, and the Mothra song goes way back to the '60s,
Yeah,
like that.
the cosmos, whatever they are always the all singing, all dancing info dump.
Yeah,
I
yeah,
do remember Mothra from like, wasn't there an NES Godzilla game?
yeah.
I remember playing that. I think Mothra was one of the bosses, right? That's like
No,
how I remember it.
you could
No, she
play
was.
as Mothra.
Oh, you play as Mothra. Okay, I just remember the image of Mothra on my TV while playing this game on the NES. That's how I'm aware of.
That game is so hard, it sucked.
But that happens a lot on the NES.
Yeah, yeah, it does. Um, yeah. Any other thought? Well, okay. I'll try to refresh your memory with a quick synopsis. Um,
Of
okay. So,
Mothra, like
so Indiana Jones going to look for a
I
thing,
remember that. I remember that guy,
gets
Indiana Jones.
gets arrested. It turns out his ex-wife is like, "Hey, we need you to help us with the situation with climate change," and he's like, "Sure." And so they go off to find this Mothra egg, and they're like, "Oh shit, let's take it back to." So they have a businessman from a company that was deforesting around where the egg was, which had it come out, and he's with them, the ex-wife and Indiana Jones. And so they go all on a hike. They climb mountains and shit and fall in water from 10 feet above at one point, which is
Oh, I do remember that because they did the whole short round on the bridge gag
yeah,
and they fell. And I'm like, wait, they that was like nothing.
yeah. It was like
Like,
four
why were they
feet.
worried about this?
It was so funny. So they find the Mothra egg. They start towing it back. Godzilla shows up and he's like, "The fuck is this?" And he's kind of weirded out by it. And then Mothra pops out of it, and he's like, "Whoa, that thing's ugly. I'm gonna kill it." And so he starts trying to kill Mothra, and then Batra shows up. No, Godzilla knocks Mothra out. Mothra's gone for a while. Batra shows up, uh, knocks Godzilla. It gets in a fight with Godzilla. Mothra fucks off, and they go into this pit that's opening into a lava pit, and everybody's like, "Yay! They're burned to death in lava." Even though like 3 times he's come out of volcanoes. Uh,
Yeah,
Never mind. It's fine. Continuity means nothing to Godzilla. Um, so okay,
I
so
want that on a bumper sticker.
so they okay, so they all go back to Tokyo. The company steals the twins and forces them to be like marketing people, and they're almost instantly stolen by Indiana Jones, who has disappeared from his ex-wife and his daughter, who he's attempting to mend fences with, but is actually a pretty awful human being. Like he's trying to human traffic these little people,
I
and
remember that.
yeah.
Yeah.
So Mothra just makes a beeline's like, "Fuck you! I want my twins back." Uh, and then they get out, and the daughter of the Indiana Jones and the X is like, thank you, Mothra. And Mothra's like, thank you. I'm gonna save the Earth. And Mothra goes off, and then the Japanese military's like, fire, and just fucking unloads on Mothra. And Mothra's like, fuck, fuck. And then somebody's like, there are people still in that hotel, and they're like, cease fire. And then Mothra is like, ugh, I feel like shit. And then goes up and spins a big cocoon on the diet building. Meanwhile, Godzilla comes back out of the lava, starts making his way to Mothra. Batra also comes out of the lava, turns into like Mothra comes out, becomes giant winged, awesome Mothra with glitter and everything. And then Batra comes back and flash bangs and becomes Batra Senior with wings, and then they all fucking fight, and then allegiances shift. Like at first it's Mothra versus Godzilla. She knocks out Godzilla for a minute, then fights Batra. He knocks out Godzilla and then fights Mothra, and then Godzilla fights Batra, fucks up Batra. He's dying, and so Mothra comes down and is like, "Fuck off, Godzilla," and just fucks him off and knocks him out for a bit, and goes and saves Batra's life. And then Batra's like, "Shit, we are both trying to protect the Earth," and she's like, "Yeah, let's team up." And so they get together, and then they start kicking Godzilla's ass. And so eventually, Godzilla's fighting back really good, but they grab they grab Godzilla. Batra has the main part of Godzilla, and Mothra has the whole tail because it's as big as Godzilla. And they fly him out to the ocean, and Godzilla is just like "fuck you" the whole time, and keeps like eating Batra's throat and just unloading beam onto the throat. And eventually, Mothra's like, "Just let's go," and the whole thing just goes, and Batra's dead as fuck, and Godzilla blows up, and everybody is like, "Yay, whatever." And then it turned out Batra had to save the world from this meteorite that was causing climate change that caused them all to come out in the first place. And so Mothra sacrifices herself by going toward the meteor and using all her glitter to shut it down. The end. I think that's pretty much it.
Yeah, I
More
think
or less.
I remember pretty much all that. Yeah.
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 I do remember the fight at the end. I guess multiple fights.
Yeah.
It's like very long. There's a lot going on.
I
And
know,
it
it's
does
great.
shift a lot. And yeah.
That's
Like,
that's what Godzilla movies are like for the most part. I mean, they're let's be honest with what Godzilla movies really are. They're WWE. They
Yeah.
are matches between these characters that we watch for entertainment value. It's the exact same thing. And so seeing those shifting alliances, all of that kind of theater, those theatrics that happen in wrestling, that happens right here with Godzilla as well. You can see when he's confused. Like sometimes he goes like, huh? He doesn't. He may like they all have emotional reactions at some point where you can tell what they're thinking.
Godzilla does have some of his best "what the fuck"
Yeah.
moments in Godzilla versus Mothra.
Yeah.
Just, I do not know what that is, but I don't like it one damn little bit.
Those eyes, they're just twigs coming out of it. Ugh. Anyway, so yeah, that's Godzilla versus King Ghidorah and Godzilla and Mothra Battle for the Planet, also known as Godzilla versus Mothra in the U.S. until they changed it back again, and now there are variants and whatnot. And the time
I've always
authority is
called it
gonna.
Godzilla versus Mothra. I mean, that's what the
those are the
title
easiest
on
to.
the screen
Yeah,
is.
those are the easiest just to remember the verses. I
Even
think.
so,
Yeah. Well,
But
it can never be Godzilla versus Mothra because they're not. Toho has a mandate that they are not allowed to verse each other, which is why in Japanese the original title is Godzilla and Mothra. It was renamed by TriStar when it came over here in order to shorten the title because Godzilla and Mothra Battle for the Planet is a fucking long title, and I did not put it at the start of our episode because it's a long title and you can't fit it in graphics very well unless you write it in like katakana or whatever. So,
Legends of the Guardians, the Owls of Ga'Hoole.
yeah.
Now, I think nowadays long titles are okay. I don't know.
Yeah.
They've managed to figure
sometimes
that
worth
out.
leaving out the part after the colon, though.
Yeah.
Yeah. But Godzilla and Mothra also, I think, to them make another argument was that it makes it sound like they're buddies going off to skip through
Yeah,
the
it does.
fields.
Yeah.
Or sounds like a
Well,
romantic
exactly.
comedy or something,
Yeah. Yeah.
And
which somebody should make.
well,
Yes.
wasn't that one of those cartoons that Netflix put out a year or two ago? Like the little sort of super deformed kaiju cartoon. I forget what it was called, but the one that was basically just a little educational program.
Oh, that the original Godzilla from educational program from like the 70s?
No, no, there was this was a cute little one from just a few years ago.
The the Godzilla, yeah, you're talking about the Godzilla
I forget what it was called, but yeah. Anyway,
oh, where is it? Godzilla Godzilla uh education
sorry.
show. I need to figure this out.
Oh no, fair enough.
Not Godzilla. Where is super deformed?
Well, I don't know if they actually called it SD or anything like that, but it was just this cute little, all of the giant monsters are cute little school chums. Anime from like, somewhere between 2 and 4 years ago. I don't know. It's still 2020, nor am I yet out of it.
Godzilla
It
Land?
definitely sounds like something that
Might have been.
would
I think that
exist.
might have been it.
Godzilla Land is about a bunch of super deformed Godzilla characters who Mothra is always fixing their mistakes.
Yep, that's it.
Um, that is
That makes sense.
from 1991 to 1992. It is a TV series from 91 to 92 that yeah, it's an old series.
I thought it was more recent. Okay,
Because I know I'd seen it way before it came on Netflix because I saw that back in the
I
90s. I thought it was 70s because I had a bad copy, I guess.
I did not realize it was that old. Well,
Yeah,
okay then.
yeah.
But even so.
Very fun show.
Oh
Very
yeah,
fun show.
absolutely honking adorable. And
Yeah.
the treatment of Mothra as sort of the maternal figure is kind of apt.
Yeah, yeah. Mothra is always trying to keep everybody out of trouble, and Godzilla is always causing trouble. He's like even the villains, they eventually they're like, okay, we'll be good students. And Godzilla's like, fuck no. I'm a wreck things because it's Godzilla. He's
Zilla
just
says, fuck you, chaotic neutral.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah, no, basically. But now Mothra is Mothra is always the good figure. Mothra is always the goddess.
Yeah.
And one of the incidental pleasures of I still have to call it Godzilla versus Mothra. There's a big VS right there on the screen in the opening credits.
Kind
Uh,
of.
it's there. No, one of the incidental pleasures of Godzilla versus Mothra is some of Akira Ifukube's most beautiful music for the scenes where the movie just slows down for a minute just to rhapsodize over Mothra.
Yeah.
Either when Mothra is originally spinning her cocoon or when she's emerging from it later on in the movie.
Hmm.
The movie itself adopts an appropriately sort of worshipful stance toward her, which they played out a little bit, but didn't really give full shrift in the more recent legendary Godzilla King of the Monsters. But it was nice that they finally started getting Mothra some get back in Godzilla versus Kong: The New Empire. That was another one of the incidental joys of that movie.
Yeah. Um, I was going to say something. This also kickstarted the rebirth of Mothra series, a trilogy of films made for kids that follows the Heisei films, but it's Mothra's adventures in saving the planet.
Wait, this
Oh,
one or
great!
that TV show you're talking about?
No, this one.
Oh, this movie. Okay.
Mm.
I like the rebirth of Mothra movies a lot.
Yeah, they're fun.
Yeah, and Death Ghidorah from the first one is, or I say Desu Ghidorah,
Yeah,
uh,
is one of
is
the is the best.
an, an interesting reinvention of the design of the character,
Hmm.
as well as the motivation. No, the rebirth of Mothra movies are neat. I liked them. I liked them very well. Again, it's been ages since I've seen those as well, but they did sort of, you know, cushion Godzilla's absence after the conclusion of the Heisei years before they got to Godzilla 2000.
Hmm. I like. Yeah. I'm ready to move on. I've said. Uh, I think we've said enough about Godzilla. I've said enough.
For the moment.
Um, I think Shane has nothing else to add.
No, I'm not, I just part of it's just it's been a while.
Yeah, yeah. We can't. Yeah. Hopefully we won't. That won't happen again. Although I'm gonna
Well,
be in
hopefully I don't.
Michigan
Hopefully I
next
do.
week.
Yeah, and
But that's okay.
hopefully I managed not to get that sick again in the last few weeks. I had to beg off last week because I was sick as a dog. But
Yeah.
I'm generally a little gravelly, but much better now.
Good.
So
Good.
hopefully that doesn't happen again anytime soon.
Well, let's move over to stuff we watched. Did either of you watch Deadpool and Wolverine?
I've not seen it yet.
On
I
the
hear good things, but I have not seen it yet.
Have you seen
I
it?
Yeah, I have seen it. I saw it opening day at 9:30 a.m. with Amelia, and it's a lot of fun. Yeah, reviews are well, no, the reviews are wrong. It's just a lot of fun. It made me belly laugh a couple of times with some of the cameos are you genuinely don't want to be spoiled on because they're jokes and it ruins the joke. The joke falls flat if you already know who so and what is going to show up. Um, but it works. There are a couple of them that actually got me because I've tried to just ignore Marvel media ever since the Eternals, I think. Um,
Mm.
I mean, you heard the new announcement for the next Avengers movies, right?
Yeah, they're doing Doomsday. And I guess they're doing a Tony Stark Doomsday and not
Who, who,
Victor
who,
Von Doomsday because
who knows?
Jess told
Who
me
knows?
apparently there was a run where Tony Stark turned into Doomsday or
That happened in the comics. It was a thing that happened. The infamous Iron Man, I guess. And of course, they're playing on the whole multiverse thing. But the more they play on the multiverse thing, the bigger a mess it gets.
I mean
Uh,
this movie it made the case for we can stop with the multiverse stuff. We can stop it,
yeah,
but it's never going to happen.
yeah.
In some
Problem is it has a
ways,
tendency to deprive things of stakes.
Well,
the thing
I think
is,
I think the plan is to end it with Secret Wars and then move into the Mutant Saga. So
mhm,
that should suppose, and I think the multiverse saga is gonna. I mean, Fantastic Four is supposed to be a alternate universe Fantastic Four, and
okay.
that's probably how they're gonna bring in the because I think Fantastic Four takes place in the '60s, the new one, and it's not in the current universe.
Huh.
Mm.
And then the mutants will probably come in there some. Well, although I mean, Ms. Marvel's already a mutant; they've already established that. So who knows? But they I think they have. I think the plan was to end this saga with Secret Wars.
I
So
think that was the plan. We'll see how that
Mm.
goes. They've had some stumbles. They've had some challenges. I've still generally liked most of the movies. It's just none of them feel like they're going toward much of anything in particular. Especially, now that Kang is out of the mix, which is understandable.
Yeah,
Uh,
whoops.
oops. Yeah. Mm. Anyways,
I didn't care for Kang as a character anyway, and
mm.
that last Ant-Man movie was fucking awful. Um,
You see, I thought it was all right. I just didn't feel like it did much of anything.
most
Yeah.
unnecessary use of Bill Murray in the history of film.
I'll agree with that. It's like
that was
you
pretty bad.
finally get Bill Murray and you use him like that?
Yeah,
Bill, did you need the paycheck that bad? I mean, good
yeah.
lord. Even so. Like I say, generally like them, but it does feel like they've been turning the wheels. There are again sort of incidental, joys here and there. Like Ms. Marvel was fantastic. I actually like the
I like
Marvels.
that.
It's nothing
I like the
terribly
Marvels.
I
monumental, but
did
I like.
too. Yeah, it was
Uh,
fine. I enjoyed it. I was entertained, but it's nothing
yeah.
I'll. If
I mean,
somebody asks me, should I
It's
see it? I'll be like, if you
it's
want
not
to.
feeling they're not feeling consequential the way that they feel like they should, given that there is this movie studio that is doing nothing but producing these movies.
Hmm.
Like, that's it, I don't know. It's like, you figure if it's all the studio is doing, they should be doing it right.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
Even
and
Lucasfilm has side projects.
yeah, but Star Wars too. I mean, I've stopped watching Star Wars. I don't even. I'm never
Yeah.
going to watch The Acolyte. I don't.
It's so freaking bad.
I
It is
don't
so
want to.
unutterably freaking bad.
I heard I was never gonna watch it anyways, but I heard that it was actually good. But
Nah, it's crap.
no, okay.
Uh,
I don't
uh,
even know what
uh,
I don't even know what it's about. I don't even know what the acolyte. Like I don't know what the acolyte in
it's a
question
murder
is.
mystery that solves itself immediately because it's written by people who don't understand how to write murder mysteries. It is the most relentlessly pointless piece of filmmaking I have seen in a very, very long time. It never, for a second, you know how I have these little problems that I pose movies to, like the Children of Men problem or the Sucker Punch problem, which is you had $180 million. You could have told any story that you wanted. Why in the hell did you tell this one? And it never came even close to satisfying the Sucker Punch problem.
I like Children of Men like a lot.
Exactly.
I do too.
Children of Men satisfies the Children of Men problem.
Mhm.
Sucker Punch does not satisfy the Sucker Punch problem.
Mm, I see. I see.
Yes.
But yeah, that was. Oh, I did actually watch a couple of other things. That was just
Woo.
the major thing. Let me pull out my notes. Uh, Movies I watched this week. Late Night with the Devil.
Oh, what'd you think?
Hated it.
Ah, sorry.
Thought it was
Uh,
stupid. It had some of the most laughable. It had okay. The first half to three quarters of the movie were fucking amazing, and I loved it. But it just falls apart at the
It falls
end.
apart at the end. I really like it up to that point, though. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, the last 10
So
minutes are miscalculated.
yeah, yeah. So disappointing. Um, I watched uh, Babylon 85. I actually didn't watch the whole thing. I woke up at 3 a.m. and the TV was on, and it was on Shutter, and it was Shutter TV, and it was about 30 minutes into this movie, Babylon 85, about a guy who kidnaps a German woman from her family because his wife, who just committed suicide, thinks she's a Nazi, and he's brought all of his friends over to do a seance to try to talk to his wife, and he's brought the woman who his wife thought was a Nazi, tied her
Oh,
up.
Brooklyn 45.
Brooklyn 45. Brooklyn 45. That's
Yeah.
right. Okay, I didn't
what did you
remember
say?
the
You said
title.
what did you say? You said
That's
Babylon
an
85.
I was going
I mean, I don't know either of these.
no,
I mean, I don't know.
when
the one with Fessenden.
when I saw it, it was 3 in the morning, and I was like, "Oh, this is great!"
Yeah.
So I never got a title except for what was on the screen, and I just wrote down Babylon 85. I'll figure it out
No,
later.
no.
And I
Brooklyn
forgot I did
45.
that. Yeah,
Brooklyn
yeah,
45.
that's the name of the movie. That's very funny.
Yeah.
Yes, that's the name of the movie.
Yeah.
I do not know how I feel about that movie, but it made me
Yeah,
feel something.
that was my response as well because it's much more interesting as basically a rumination of PTSD than it actually is as a ghost story,
Yeah.
or even a post-war story.
Hmm.
Uh, I don't think it's a pleasant watch, and it's set up like one of those pastiches that feels like it should be fun to watch, but it ends up as being a very, very sad story. There
Yeah.
are some absolute kick to the groin moments, particularly toward the climax of the movie.
Yeah.
It is undeniably effective filmmaking, but I'm absolutely with you. I do not know how I feel about that picture.
Yeah. I'd still recommend people watch it. Um, I think it's interesting enough and indie enough that it deserves a shot from other people because anything that gives me an emotional reaction, I consider good in its own way. So I
It's
yeah.
it's got Larry Fessenden. It's a rough movie. If that's what you're in the mood for,
hmm Number three, two to go. Number three, I watched Axel F.
yes,
You
me
know,
too.
What?
actually, on my list is I had never seen Beverly Hills Cop 1 and 2, and I watched those two.
Oh, sweet.
I didn't watch. I haven't gotten around to Axel F yet, but those were Axel F reminded me that those movies existed, that I hadn't seen them, and that they were on Netflix. 3 is
Ax
not on there. So
Axel F felt like Beverly Hills Cop again. Not like the third one. The third one was kind of shit, and everybody agreed on that. Um, but Axel F, I really enjoyed. I laughed
Yeah,
a lot. Like you can tell when he and Balky
jo-
fucking
Bronson
Bronson
Pinchot's
Pinchot,
in it.
no, who plays the fucking god damn it.
Judge Reinhold.
Judge Reinhold, Paul Reiser.
No. Was I right about the first guy? Who?
Bronson
About
Pinchot was a minor character in the first one,
Yeah,
wasn't he?
yeah, no, he keeps repeating Serge.
yeah, Serge. Serge,
Okay.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. Uh,
yeah, it's Bronson
when
Pinchot.
when he and Eddie Murphy are ad libbing at one point in the car, and something. Hey, Skip.
Hey,
Something.
Ted.
Hey, Skip.
Something. There's a line I won't repeat that Serge says that sounds like he's saying something. And the way Eddie Murphy responds to it is so funny. Do you remember that at all?
I don't remember that bit
Where
specifically.
he's like, you don't want to be saying that to no black folk around here, and you
Oh
get
yeah.
killed.
Yeah. No,
That
the movie's a lot
whole
of fun.
that
It
whole
is.
exchange.
Yeah, no, the whole movie was a lot of fun. It's that sort of cop movie that would have resulted in millions, if not billions, of dollars of property damage comedy that they just sort of don't do anymore. So it was yeah, a throwback, but that's a style of filmmaking that deserves its own pastiche, the same as anything else does.
It felt like an '80s cop movie. It
It
really
absolutely felt like
did.
it. Yeah.
So I highly recommend it. I'd even recommend skipping three and going straight to four
Yeah, I
if you
mean
want to.
three's not even. Yeah, three's not even
Three
on
is not
Netflix.
John Landis's finest hour.
It's nobody. There are some ridiculous cameos in it, but that's land.
Because it is a John Landis movie.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
Um, but it's garbage and pretty much unwatchable. They do refer to it in this one, but they refer to it in one line, and it's to dismiss it utterly. So you don't need to see it.
Yeah. This hasn't happened since what, 93? Yeah, something like that.
uh, my last movie I only watched 20 minutes of.
Mhm.
Gods of Egypt. I had never seen it.
Oh, the Christian Bale movie. Wait,
No,
No.
it's a Ridley
Nikolai
Scott movie, right?
Coster-Waldau and Gerard Butler.
Yes.
Is it Ridley
Alex
Scott?
Proyas. Alex
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 Proyas.
Proyas.
Proyas. It's all
Wow.
about the gods and they like live with people and
They're like 17 feet tall and
they're like
shit.
yeah, they're like 17 feet tall and they're all glowy and it's just dumb as shit. It may have been some of the worst 20 minutes I've seen in film. It was just everything about it, the effects, the script, even the acting was so lazy, except for poor Gerard Butler, who acts
Gerard
at
Butler is
100% every time.
Gerard Butler has some of the most amazing frickin' line readings in that movie. It's like,
Yeah, he
well, that
makes
certainly
me
went in a way I did not anticipate.
but no, it's
It's a film that I actually really like that movie, but I was kind of looking to it to lean into the ridiculousness in the first place. Also, it helps that I have the 3D version, which, weirdly enough, I think really does help that movie a lot, especially for the over-the-top quality to it all. That said, it is absolutely legitimate. That was kind of the film that kind of kick-started the modern debate about whitewashing in modern science fiction and fantasy.
yeah, because it is very
It is
whitewashed.
so freaking whitewashed. Even when Chadwick Boseman is in it, it feels like that it's kind of crammed in there.
Uh, um, what is the Christian Bale one? Because that's the Ridley
Uh,
Scott one.
yeah, there's an
Exodus.
What the
Exodus.
heck,
God,
Exodus?
God's
Oh, that
King.
where he's Moses.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
that's the one I was thinking of.
Yeah.
I
Which
wanna
Also
s-
pretty
saw.
whitewashed.
I
Was
want
that
to.
Edgerton as Pharaoh?
I think so.
Yeah.
I want to see that one though, because I keep trying to see that one because I can never remember the title. But instead, I watched that other Gods movie that was
Gods and
awful.
Monsters.
The
Oh,
Monsters with Ian McKellen and Brendan Fraser.
No,
you saw where I was going with that.
no. No, I talked about it the other.
Wait, is it Brendan Fraser?
And
Gods and
Yeah,
Monsters.
it was Brendan
yeah,
Fraser.
yeah, that was Um, there was oh god, where the gods were like not it was a quest and the gods were not supposed to interfere, and then one of them does, and there's a whole battle. And it has some
Clash of the Titans.
no, it's more recent than that. Okay, movie about Greek gods, recent. Let's see. Just name some goddamn movies. Da, 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 da. Immortals.
Oh yeah.
Wait, is that the one
Immortals.
by Nicholas Winding Refn?
No, not that one.
Oh, that's Valhalla Rising. Never mind.
Yeah,
Right?
no, Immortals was Tarsum.
Yeah, Tarsem
Oh, okay.
Singh,
Yeah,
who
and
did
with
that Jennifer
The Fall,
Lopez.
which I've never
Yeah,
seen.
that
and
I've heard
had
good things about the Cell. What
The
the
Cell.
Fall and the Cell. Never
Yeah.
mind.
yeah.
Wait, he did the Fall too, right? That's not
Yeah.
Jennifer
Yeah.
Lopez, though.
yeah.
The Immortals is good looking. I have yet to make it all the way through it. I seem to keep falling asleep when I'm trying to watch it.
hmm
I mean, it's got again, Henry Cavill, John Hurt, lots and lots of people who are not Greek.
Yeah.
Um,
Mickey Rourke.
Mickey Rourke. Uh,
Mickey Rourke's pretty good in it, but he just plays Mickey Rourke. Anyway,
that works for a heavy.
I
But,
watched
even
that movie first, and it was fucking awful. And it was directed by a guy a lot of people hate that I diverged on with The Cell. When everybody loved The Cell, that's when I started to dislike that name.
I did not care for The Cell, but I liked The Fall pretty well.
I
Not
didn't.
great.
I didn't watch The Fall because I hated The Cell so much. And then maybe I should. And then the second one I just watched was Alex Proyas, and I diverged with you on him
With
from
knowing,
knowing that fucking
which
movie.
I loved and you
Never saw
fucking
that.
hated.
Yeah,
I mean, what was the last Proyas I saw? Probably iRobot, which I kind of liked.
it was fine.
iRobot works if you imagine it as a fanfic set inside the universe of Isaac Asimov's iRobot.
I just look at it as a Hollywood version of iRobot, and
Oh,
that's
it
it.
is so not. It is so not even resembling anything that's actually in the book. I mean, I'm
Yeah,
still.
it's a Hollywood
definitely-
version.
I'm definitely on that team that's still annoyed that they never made Harlan Ellison's adaptation with Irvin Kershner back in the '80s.
Oh,
That would have been amazing. That would basically the Citizen Kane of science fiction movies, but it never happened.
all right. Well,
Also because
I've
Ellison was a cantankerous man.
yeah.
Yeah.
I've spent like half an hour talking about my stuff. What do you guys want to talk about?
Can I talk a little bit about Attack on Titan, which I just finished?
Fuck yeah.
Oh yes,
Because
absolutely.
I know you love this show, Nate.
Mhm.
So this show started like a lot of animes start out like they kind of slow, and then like the more you find out, as the plot kicks in, it gets more interesting. For me, Attack on Titan was the opposite. It started out like one of the best shows I'd ever seen. The more I found out about what was happening, the less I cared. and it takes them 60 episodes to explain what's going on. Again, I know you like this, so apologies.
No, Shane, hang on
What?
1 second. I just
Okay.
want to clarify something.
Okay.
I like Attack on Titan. I never
Mhm.
said I finished it.
You didn't finish it.
No,
Oh,
absolutely not. I had the same experience you did. The more complicated the lore and the story got, once they got outside of the wall and started focusing on an entirely different country for
mhm.
a for like 12 books, that's when I
Yeah.
was like, I'm out.
The thing is, so it takes them literally 60 episodes to explain the premise. Do you know all this? I'm not going to
Yeah,
say the
I know it
spoilers,
all.
but
I know it all.
you could explain it in 5 minutes.
Yeah.
It's not that complicated. They just take 60 episodes to do it, and then they sort of wrap it up, and then it's like, okay. But like the first 15, 20 episodes are some of the most intense things media I've seen.
Mm.
It did feel unsustainable because the body count was so high. It was so intense. Like how could it be believable that they could survive this for another 80 episodes? They don't. They just stop doing that and then just start trying to explain the world. And I did talk to a lot of people who quit like halfway through. I was like, I'm gonna power through this thing. Um, I
Yeah.
didn't hate it. It had some moments, but
I have no idea how it ends. I got as far as we go back to the country that's like subjugating the people on the island, uh, uh, and we stay with them for a whole long ass time, and then they go back to storm the beaches and take over like the final wall, and then everybody from who we've known start fighting back, and but they're like not the main focus characters anymore, and then they become the main focus characters
they
again.
do. I mean, do you know who the ultimate villain is?
Uh,
It was ourselves the whole time.
well,
Sorry.
I mean,
I don't want to guess. It'll probably be obvious, but I don't want to guess.
okay.
Tell me.
I mean, you want to know?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
It's just Aaron. He did it. All of it was him.
Oh,
He has an ability. He has the Titan ability to see the future. So he saw everything that was going to happen and orchestrated the whole thing. And he's the final. He destroys 80% of the world by the end, and then they just chop off his head, and then the world rebuild. He decides ultimately to just destroy the mainland. Like fuck them. They've subjugated us. He makes it almost all the way across and destroys almost all of it. And
Jesus.
then like Mikasa and Armin fight back and they kill him. And then at the end they have like a ghost thing where the ghosts talk, or they talk to his ghost. And he's like, "Can you forgive me?" They're like, "All right, fine." And then they rebuild this world that he single-handedly destroyed. And the author has even said he regrets that ending. He said he fucked it up. He said it doesn't make sense that he could be forgiven for doing something like that.
Yeah.
And I was just like, all right, I don't care. I've done. I finished the show. Um,
So so Aaron on the mainland saw everything that was going to happen, set up the whole operation, and
he saw
then
every. He's the one who he sent. The very first episode when the Titan kills his mother.
yeah.
He did that.
Oh.
Future Aaron did that, like all the way back to that. He set up. He did everything. He orchestrated everything from the beginning of the show.
Oh.
And ultimately, because he decided that the Marlians needed to be destroyed, so he did
That's
all of it. Everything was him, which I don't find believable at all. It
you,
doesn't make any sense.
you know what I liked about that show was
But
when they had dire situations and unsolvable problems like how do we use our awesome grappling equipment against giants, titans, when we're out on a plane? We have to get from this forest to that forest so we can stay alive a little longer. And that's really cool stuff. There's a lot of like strategy and whatnot. Levi is a very cool character, but it that show just loses it in just too much backstory.
yeah, like who cares about the Rice family and the whatevers? I don't even remember. I just finished the show. I don't remember half of what's going on. Like Historia is a big part.
Hmm.
That one character. Who cares? Anyway, sorry, Jenner. I know you don't care
Oh
about any of
no,
this.
no, it's fine. Sooner or later, every lengthy anime series has its equivalent of Nadia's Island episodes.
Also, it occurred to me this Attack on Titan is essentially a mech show.
Oh, it's
Yeah,
absolutely a
it's
picture.
yeah.
That's all it is, except they can generate the mechs out of thin air. Anyway, so I also did watch some
Particularly
movies.
gnarly flavor
Oh,
of mech.
really quickly, Travis says if you're a fan of
Hey,
Children of
Travis.
Men, check out 2019 After the Fall of New York. And
Oh, of
her,
course.
Oh, by the way, when Aaron starts his final march,
Mhm.
you see him trample children, like children whose names you know. You watch like a rock fall on one and smash his head. You watch a child as the foot comes down, and you are close up on his eyes, and you see it go black down as a Titan stomps on him. He's like 6 years old, so good stuff.
No,
I'm really glad I didn't finish it.
correct me if I'm wrong, unless I'm crossing my wires here. After the Fall of New York was one of Michael Sopkiew's Lamberto Bava / John Old Jr. Trilogy, along with Devilfish and Blast Fighter. Yes. Uh,
I'll let you know
yeah.
if he responds.
No, fun stuff. In any case, not great, but interesting. Blast Fighter, of course, being the sort of First Blood ripoff shot in Georgia, of all places, by Italians, where basically if you put a spring in a shotgun shell, it'll make trees explosive. Uh, fun movies.
Yeah,
And of course, Devilfish was one of the more famous
I know Devilfish.
Mystery Science Theater 3000 episodes. But
I haven't seen After the Fall of New York, but I will look for it.
it's not important, but it's fun if you like that kind of thing.
Shane, you got some movies.
Two
Okay.
more. I did watch Madam Web, which
Oh,
I didn't hate. I like the premise of it. I like the
Yeah.
premise of a guy who sees his own death and then tries to prevent it. I mean, it's one we've seen before.
There are things in that movie that could have been made into good movies.
Yes, but why do it in this universe? Why force that story here? Why have the spider? So he sees himself get killed by the Spider Women. That's not a spoiler. This is like the premise of the movie.
Yeah.
We never get to the Spider Women. Like we're just
Except in flash
we
forwards.
follow the girls who will become the Spider Women. The movie ends before we get to that point. So I can understand why people will be mad about this. It also just doesn't need to be in the Spider Verse. It was a neat premise, and it wasn't the worst thing ever. But it boggles my mind that they made it.
Like I said, Dakota Johnson managed to maintain her dignity, which is impressive given some of the stuff that she was working against in that movie.
and why is it? Why does it matter? Is it really in the Spider Verse, as it were? Is it? It seems like did anybody show up from any other movies?
Adam Scott plays Ben Parker. So there's that. Right. So nobody from the actual established universe as we know it is in it.
Okay.
But
It's very spider adjacent.
Yeah.
yeah,
Adam
it's
Scott's not going to be Ben Parker.
No, he's
no.
not.
So I saw that, and then I finally watched, which I've been wanting to watch for a while, American Fiction, which I really enjoyed.
I've
thought
wanted to see that really badly.
it's on Amazon now. It's on Amazon
Oh,
Prime.
good.
I thought it would be a lot darker because it is about race. It's sort of about race relations and the experience of being a black writer, but it's actually a lot breezier, and it reminds me of Sideways. It has that kind of vibe to it. Like he's kind of a jackass. I don't know if you guys know the premise. He writes this black writer who is he just writes novels about whoever. It's nothing particularly black about it. He goes to a bookstore to find his book. It's not under fiction. It's under African American studies. So he gets frustrated and just writes like this very trashy black book in all in ebonics, and immediately regrets it. And the more he tries to distance himself from it, the more it balloons out of control. So it's sort of it's a comedy. It's very enjoyable. Everything he does is to tank the book, and it just exasperates him how it just gives the book more legitimacy. And it's under a pseudonym, so he can't even take credit for it. And it's a lot of fun. I definitely enjoyed it.
I want to see it.
I believe he and Sterling K. Brown were both nominated for acting Oscars for it. Of course, neither won, but they're both very good. So definitely recommend it. I've been trying to track down because it's based on a book. I've been trying to track down the book. My library doesn't have it, But
I saw it at Barnes and Noble the other
Did you
day.
check the African American Studies section?
that's a good call. I did
Sorry.
not.
Sorry.
So that's I think that's all I got. Yeah, then Beverly Hills Cop 1 and 2, I don't really need to say anything about those. They're both fun. I'd never seen them. Glad I finally saw them. And it sounds like I need to go watch Axel F now.
Mm-hmm.
Axel F is fun.
It's
Axel F is a lot of fun.
it's great. It's to me, it is everything done right about a nostalgia fueled uh, revisit that I don't think the Ghostbusters films have been doing. Because they feel to me more like they just shove shit in to be like,
I,
hey, remember that?
I really liked Afterlife for the most part. I have
Like,
to admit, I really did not particularly care for Frozen
yeah,
Empire.
Yeah.
Yeah, it had its moments. It was nice to see Aykroyd with a bigger role again. Um,
I
Overall, it left me cold, but bummed.
I just I don't like seeing Bill Murray and Dan Aykroyd in the suits anymore with like
I'll
anything.
allow. I'm never gonna get tired of Ernie Hudson in the suit.
Well, yeah, black don't crack.
Yeah, I know, right? But Dan and Bill seem just kind of tired at this
Yeah.
point.
Bill is special. He's just like given up on every. He's like, I don't
Yeah,
care.
he was in like 5 minutes of that movie.
He wore
Like,
sunglasses for no reason.
surprise!
He just
Thank
suddenly had sunglasses at one point.
you.
Remember? Remember when he
Well,
suddenly had
never remember.
sunglasses? And to take them off in order to look at the monster. He has sunglasses on and he takes them off so that he can look at it better. But he never had them on before, and then suddenly he has sunglasses. I don't know. I don't know
I
where they
feel
came
like
from.
that's the real Bill Murray just having fun with the continuity
That's
or
kind of
lack
what
thereof.
yeah, that's, I think so. I think
He
that
might
he was
just
like,
maybe he
It's like,
just showed up with the sunglasses. He's like, I'm not
was
taking
he
them off till
wearing
the camera rolls.
was he wearing sunglasses before? No. Were you going to tell him to take it off? No. Are you? Yeah.
all right, Jenner, it's your turn.
Oh, were you done, Shane?
Yeah, I'm done.
Yeah, he
That's
said
all
he
I
had
got.
Oh,
two.
Yeah, I
oh,
have some
okay.
other anime, but we don't need to go into that.
All right. Well, it's been a few weeks, so I've been through a fair amount of random stuff. Granted, we've covered some of it. As I say, The Acolyte, which finally finished up, is dire.
Mm.
Ugh. And
So
I was
can you
inclined to.
tell?
I was inclined. Oh, go ahead.
I would actually. I'm curious why, because I've watched a lot of Star Wars. I considered myself a fan for a long time, closet fan, but a fan. Um, and I just I don't understand what could be so bad about it that would make people actively dislike it, considering how non-eventful its place in the universe actually is. Like, are people really going to watch it just to see if it's bad? If so, didn't
That was
if
kind of
if
how
it
I ended up going. I ended up
if
freely
you go
admitting after
in
the.
to watch something that's bad and you come out and you've watched something that's bad, you actually had a good time.
I I will freely allow that the level of sort of processing the level of dislike that I've experiencing has been a critically more rigorous experience than I've had of a lot of movies lately, simply because most of the movies lately is like, oh, I liked that. Whereas
Yeah.
this is interesting in that it fails at so many levels that quantifying them and qualifying the specific ways that that it works is a more intellectually rigorous process than my normal, good instincts toward what I'm probably going to enjoy, and it turns out I'm usually right. Could be. I went into the Acolyte perfectly allowing for the possibility of enjoying it. The original trailers basically sort of suggested that it was a murder mystery in sort of the High Jedi era, and that sounded like a fun idea. It would be great if somebody would actually frickin' make that at some point.
And this is the lady from Obi-Wan, right? She's
No,
the
this is the
acolyte?
lady. This is no, it's not related to any
Oh.
other Star
But
Wars
who's
series.
is anybody in this that's famous?
Michelle
Well,
Yeoh.
Oh,
no,
really?
she's not in it.
No, she's
No?
not.
No,
Oh.
no,
Why did
no.
I where did I
I don't
read
even
she
know.
was gonna be in
It
Why?
has
Star Wars?
it has Carrie Ann Moss.
Oh, maybe I've only heard the
Maybe that's who I'm
title. I don't
thinking
even.
of.
I can't picture what this show is. But also, I just.
Having seen it, I still can't picture what it is. As I say, it never
So
develops.
it has nothing to it has
Hey,
no connection.
Jason Mendoza's in it from The
That's
Good
right.
Place.
And he's actually one of the better things about it.
Manny
But
Manny Jacinto or Jacinto.
Jacinto. But he's one of the better things about it, and he's one of the better sort of physical performers. But again, uh, people like change their minds basically whenever anybody tells them to change their minds. Like people are firmly convinced that one person is a murderer, and then she says, "But I'm not a murderer," and they're like, "Oh, so she's not a murderer." It is not written well. It is written extremely badly. It's like it's sort of a murder mystery setup, but it has basically no suspects.
Is it a Jedi movie or is it just a bunch of people in the universe running around trying to solve a mystery?
It's a Jedi movie, more or less,
Can't
and
the
it's another
Jedi
one of these
solve
things about the
mysteries?
Jedi being a bunch of freaking idiots. The problem
Isn't
is
that everything they do is solve mysteries?
yeah, except like I say, the mystery in this case is so painfully obvious that okay, you know how you have the sort of the Rashomon approach to things in a lot of programs,
Yeah.
where you'll see events from one viewpoint. In one episode, and then they'll come back in a later episode, and they'll show you it from a different viewpoint, and it'll recontextualize the whole thing.
Mm-hmm.
This happens in this series, except it doesn't recontextualize it. It just shows the exact same thing from a different viewpoint. It does not do what it thinks it does. It does not make what happened seem any better or worse. Anytime that they set something up to appear like a revelation, it's something that we guessed the last time that they teased it, which was 4 episodes ago. It shows such a stubborn misunderstanding of how to create a narrative that I'm sort of amazed that the showrunner had anything to do with Russian Doll, which was absolute clockwork.
Yeah.
I'm going to chalk that up to Natasha Lyonne.
Yeah.
Natasha Lyonne is freaking smart, and on the basis of this, I don't think Leslie Headland is, or at least doesn't know anything about not even Star Wars mysteries.
I don't. Yeah. I think they. I realize Leslie can go either way. So they.
I think Leslie's a she, but
Okay.
yeah.
I don't.
Well, I think Leslie Headland specifically is a she. I've been wrong. I'm sorry if I'm wrong, but I
No,
think she's a
I
she.
would have kept talking, but I got bored with what I was gonna say. Just I started thinking about Star Wars, and
You got bored.
I got bored. I don't care about any of
The
this.
acolyte will not help. It doesn't help.
Yeah, I'm not
That,
gonna.
that's the short version.
Wasn't this show
It's
really
not
hyped
good.
for some reason?
It was
For some-
really hyped, and there's a ridiculous amount of money that went into its production. And aside from a couple of evocative locations and a few good special effects here and there, it's not on screen. It fails on multiple levels. It is weirdly watchable, but remains sort of stunningly pointless at the end. It's watchable in the sense that it never does anything that made me hate quit. It just never does anything right. If that makes any sense.
I feel like if Hollywood took the kind of money that they give to these things and just gave it all to the dude who made Godzilla -1, he would take that money and be like, I can make 1,000 movies.
This is the sucker punch problem in a nutshell, and this
Yeah.
is why the acolyte does not solve it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway, what you
Anyway,
got? What else you got? I'm depressed now and tired.
Well, okay, some things to improve things for you.
Yeah.
Let's see. I managed to make it out to the theater to see Longlegs.
Oh, how was it?
It is not the second coming that some of its extollers have indicated, but it is a really good, really chilly movie. It is not like The Silence of the Lambs at all, aside from taking place loosely in an FBI context. That is not its thing. I don't really want to do much by way of spoilers.
I don't even know what it's about. So saying that FBI has something to do with it, I've got the title, and I've
Hmm.
heard that it's good,
And
and
Nicolas Cage.
that's
Nick, Nicholas
literally
Cage is
in it.
Yeah, that's all I know
I
about it. Nicolas
don't
Cage and
stop,
Longlegs.
stop, stop, stop.
Are you
I
going to see it?
I didn't even. Yes, I am. I already promised Amelia we would go see it because she wants to see it,
right.
and hopefully it's okay. I'm sure it's fine. I've given up.
I mean,
Um,
he's second build. I don't think I spoiled the surprise. He's on the poster, his name. So
oh, okay.
There are some bad things that happens to kids in it, but I don't think any of it is depicted graphically on screen.
Okay. That would be more of a problem for me than her. Like whenever
Yeah.
kids die on screen and I start like having a panic attack, she's cracking up. She thinks it's hilarious. Whenever people get killed,
died.
get killed in horrible ways, she thinks it's so funny. And we've been watching Harley Quinn. I've been rewatching it, and she's been watching it for the first time. And we realized that she is Poison Ivy. She just
Mm.
hates people, but loves plants and animals and everything else. But people
All
just
right.
kind of suck.
Yeah.
I don't know.
No. In that case, I think she'll probably really like Longlegs. It is a lot more a spiritual sequel
I didn't say
to.
no more. I don't even want to know what you're about to say. You don't have to sell me anymore on
Okay.
it.
Well,
You
okay. In general, it is not. How about this? It is not a spiritual sequel to The Silence of the Lambs,
okay?
despite the fact that they've been trying to kind of sell it that way.
Mm,
Uh, it is good. I will be interested in your take on it, and I'm just going to put it there.
all right,
Yeah, very chilly.
recommended.
I liked it.
Okay.
Um, okay, other interesting stuff. I managed to catch. I saw the TV glow.
Oh,
I want
I
to see
s-
that.
yeah.
Yeah, I had actually seen the previous film by Jane Schoenbrunn, the director, which was "We're All Going to the World's Fair," which I am not. I was a little iffy on. It wasn't bad. I didn't dislike it. I thought it was a film that kind of got a lot of mileage out of a very sort of minimalist mounting. It was basically a series of vlogs, essentially.
I never
Which
saw it, but Amelia said she did not like it. She was like, it's not good.
It was minor. I mean,
Yeah.
I thought it was interestingly written. I don't know how I feel about the ending, but it showed some talent. I saw the TV glow, but I'm still feeling very iffy about its ending.
Mhm.
Um, it is. I don't know if I want to go into spoilers on this.
I do want to see it.
Okay, so I'm going to kind of leave that there. It has a lot of atmosphere. It has a very interesting premise. Jesus, that's vague.
I forgot what we're talking about. That was so vague.
I saw the TV Glow,
Yes,
which
that's right.
is about a dude and a friend of his who is a girl who both get obsessed with a sort of like syndicated horror adjacent young adult horror-ish show. Um, that ends up sort of mutating in their recollections as time goes on. It's an interestingly sort of self-referential narrative in ways that, if I were to explain them, would probably constitute spoilers in their own right. But it's one of those ones where I'd prefer to talk about it once either of you guys got around to seeing it. It is allegorical for something very specific, but I don't want to spoil it.
Would you recommend it, and how much would you recommend it, and would you recommend it for some specific people?
I would recommend it. I would recommend it. Like I say, I'd be interested to talk about the ending with someone, anyone. Um,
I might give that one a watch. Amelia will
Look,
watch anything with me.
I
It's
think
just
I think Amelia will find it interesting. I would be interested in Amelia's take on it as well.
okay.
Yes.
Yeah. She's getting better and better. But she also ate mushrooms and enjoyed them today, so she's growing up.
Not like the magic kind, the
Yeah, I
regular
was
kind,
like,
right?
wait, food mushrooms?
Yeah.
Okay, good.
She's still
Yes, good,
tripping
good.
upstairs.
Okay, well, all right.
No, no, yeah,
Yeah,
regular
she
mushrooms. Yeah, it didn't even occur to me that I would that's
Hey,
what does
internet
it
very.
say
police,
about
she's
us?
11.
What does it say about us that both of our
She's
brains went
12.
to the same
Well,
place like directly? But leave that aside.
Yeah,
Uh,
I said it because I thought everybody would be like, yeah, kids never want to eat their vegetables, especially mushrooms, because that's a kid thing.
eh,
That's a kid media thing. I guess that's more of an American white kid thing than anything. Because I've talked with a lot of people. I've brought this up with people that come are like second generation and whatnot. I'm not including Shane because I don't know what his experience is and I don't want to speak for him.
oh, I've always loved, I mean,
Yeah.
Asian people put mushrooms in everything.
Yeah. So you grow up with
kid,
the vegetables and
yeah.
Yeah.
The white kid's Rubicon for mushrooms is when you discover that they can exist in a context other than cream of mushroom soup, which is
Mhm.
disgusting.
I don't
Or
think I've ever even had that.
at least if it is treated as soup. Nobody
no,
eats it as soup.
No, I
no,
mean, I've had it in green bean casseroles, fine.
It's used in casseroles, but
Mhm.
like I say, there are better ways to use the mushroom. But
Mhm.
discovering that is one of those Rubicons that every white kid has to cross, or at least every white kid of my generation did. Kids of your generation, just a few years younger, may have actually had parents who already had the foggiest idea how to make fucking food.
No.
Yeah.
My parents were both students and
Okay.
teachers and academics,
So they
and I
improvise
had a
even.
lot of pizza and
Oh,
McDonald's.
okay. Well, pizza will get you fond of mushrooms if done correctly. So, well,
No,
I
there you
love
go.
no,
mushrooms on pizza are the
No.
best.
I, I was a picky eater when I was a kid. I did not eat vegetables. I barely ate anything.
Yeah.
I would eat fried, like chicken nugget. I was like Declan. I would eat chicken nuggets and fries. I was one of those kids. It wasn't until I had my first sushi that my world changed. When I had my first sushi, that exploded and I started eating everything.
Well, all right. Sooner, better, better sooner than later,
Yeah, but I was
or
already a teenager at that point.
better late than never.
Yeah.
Anyway,
What else you got?
uh, oh, go ahead.
No, I said, what else you got?
Oh no, like I say, those were kind of the two big-ish, relatively recent sort of prestige genre pictures. Aside from that, I've seen a few sort of relatively recent independent things. Um, One of those guys I keep going on about, Steve Lawson, the guy who makes $750, sort of classic horror adaptations, came out with a new Dracula movie on the heels of his Bram Stoker's Van Helsing from a couple of years ago. Which was sort of, as I said at the time, kind of interesting in that it's the only Dracula movie that doesn't have Dracula because it just adapts the Lucy part of the story. His Van Helsing came back, although in this case it's not actually directly related. It's not the other half of that story, but Wrath of Dracula turns out to be, given Lawson's typical, you know, $750 to $1,750 budget. Uh, Manages to make a martial arts Mina Harker versus and Van Helsing versus Dracula movie, and it ends up actually being kind of a lot of fun. It's not scary by any stretch of the
Okay,
imagination.
okay, you need to paint a bigger picture for me about this. Is it really like $750 or are you being hyperbolic?
I'm being a little bit hyperbolic, but
Okay.
not much.
Okay.
Lawson's movies do not cost a lot.
But do they have like the production value of like Velocipaster or
Like Godzilla
uh,
-1.
No, they do not have the production value of Godzilla -1. Nothing has the production value of Godzilla -1, with the possible exception of John Carpenter's original production of Halloween back in 1978, which became at the time the most successful independent movie ever made.
Mhm.
Um,
Turns
No,
out when you
but
just let people make stuff.
yeah, no. Steve Lawson just makes. He's one of these guys I've been going on about for a while. Just sort of a super indie British filmmaker, kind of like the other one I go on about, Charlie Steeds, who just has a little stock company of reasonably talented. Uh, think provincial theater actors, but generally, they look good on film and they can deliver a line. Uh, he said just in Lawson's case, he's usually working off of semi-classic horror literature. He did an adaptation of Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde that actually followed Stevenson's original story structure, in that the solution to the mystery was that Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde were the same person, which is an underused tactic. He's a guy who's very respectful to his source material, or at least
Wait, what?
still managed
What did you just say about
the
Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde?
Yes, the if you've ever read the original novel, it's a mystery where the solution is worse than the problem.
Yeah,
We don't
but
find out until the end of the novel that Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde are the same person.
okay. Yeah,
Oh, we
but
don't. I didn't know that.
I knew that. I mean, I knew
No, I mean,
that.
I
But
didn't
Yeah,
know that
but
was. I
nobody,
didn't know that was the structure of the novel. I didn't know
yeah,
that was.
nobody ever
Yeah.
adapts it that way. That's the thing. But except Steve Lawson
really?
did, and I actually really appreciate
I've
that.
seen adaptations where it's him fighting with another guy entirely. I swear I have. I swear I've seen adaptations where it is a mystery even though we know.
Not many.
Maybe you dreamed the Russell Crowe movie came out. He was supposed to be, or he does
Yeah.
play Dr. Jekyll, right?
Yes.
What the
Yeah,
fuck
he was
was it?
Dr.
In the
Jekyll
Mummy.
and Mr. Hyde in the Mummy.
Yeah.
Wait, oh, he actually showed up as Mr. Hyde in the Mummy too?
Yeah, yeah.
I mean, I never saw it.
Yeah,
Well, it's always Dr. It's never two separate people. It's always Dr.
Yeah,
Jekyll and Mr. Hyde. Maybe it
the
was a
point is,
stage production I saw. It might have been a stage production.
stage production might have approached it that way.
Yeah.
The point is, the movies almost never do, but Lawson did one that way. And similarly, as I say, he did Bram Stoker's Van Helsing, which I've gone on about a bit before, which was an all Lucy subplot Dracula adaptation, which is something that, frankly, I've been waiting for a while, because I always thought that particular subplot kind of got short shrift. But Lawson basically makes these extremely low budget period literary adaptations most of the time. I generally like the results. Similarly, Wrath of Dracula brings back his Van Helsing from Bram Stoker's Van Helsing. Again, the two aren't directly related. They just happen to have the same guy playing Van Helsing, I guess. But basically, Mina goes off to Transylvania with him to try to, in her case, recover her husband. Van Helsing is kind of using her as a cat's pawn to sort of gain entree into Dracula's castle in order to defeat Dracula. But in the meantime, he sort of tricks her into training in martial arts, which ends up being sort of a fun little approach in its own right. So it ends up as this weirdly little, no budget but game chop socky, Dracula movie. It's a fun little piece of work. Again, this is the very recent Wrath of Dracula, which is one of those things that I think you'll appreciate more if you've seen other movies by Steve Lawson. But even so, it's still a fun little watch in its own right.
All right.
Aside from,
I
go ahead.
gotta wrap things up. I'm starting to get tired. I'm
sure.
lagging.
Yeah, well, that's all right. No, like I say, mostly just been other weird little indie stuff that I've seen lately. So nothing too monumental to report. Real quick, give a little sort of lo-fi sci-fi movie called Brightwood a look if you happen to stumble across it. It has one of the more interesting takes that I've seen lately on a time loop, and for a two-hander is a pretty smart little picture.
Cool.
That's it.
I like time loops.
I tried to watch Damsel. I made it like 40 minutes in. I was like, I don't care. I know you saw it and you liked it, right?
Define liked.
I just got to a point where she found the dragon and then she was running. I'm like, oh, it's just gonna be her now for the rest of the movie. Like, I don't really want to watch her for the rest of the movie.
So you stop.
Yeah, I mean she's fine in Stranger Things, but I didn't really care about the character. And
I mean, you know what happens, right? Like halfway through the film, or is that 3/4? I don't know. At some point, whatever. It
Did you
doesn't
become
matter.
friends with the dragon?
I don't even care. I don't. But yeah, I mean, you could see it coming.
Yeah.
But I remember the ending of that movie being missing every beat that it should have. As far as a bombastic, I'm gonna get revenge on these pieces of shit ending could be. There's the way that the you're doomed speech that revenge people give at the end. She flubs it. The actual revenge. Okay, let's say you befriend a dragon who is as pissed at the same people as you are. What are you gonna do?
I mean, send the dragon after them? What do you mean?
No,
I,
no.
I,
You're gonna ask that dragon, can I ride you back there? And then ride that dragon and then swoop down on the people who see you riding a fucking dragon after they sent you to their death with the dragon and just start executing them. I mean, that
Yeah.
essentially is what happens, but
mhm.
it misses so many cinematic beats that it takes all of the wind out of the sails of the revenge. Anyway,
Eh,
that's what I remember from the movie.
It's a slight picture.
Yeah, it's okay.
Yeah.
Anyway, that's gonna do it for us this week because I'm tired. Well, let's see. Next week we're not doing it. The following week I might be in Michigan, so we might be 3 weeks from now. But our next two movies in the Heisei series are going to be Godzilla versus Mechagodzilla 2 and Godzilla versus Space Godzilla.
Yay.
Yeah, we good?
Oh yeah.
Clear? All right. Well, good night.